Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. I wanted to go over, I had a couple people ask me questions about a CL trade that I mentioned today, even though I was not actually trading CL. I had several people ask me, and I noticed that a lot of people got really bearish on CL today and up near the highs, and they were looking for a reversal. So I thought it was a good opportunity to discuss price action and what I look for when I see a reversal versus when I'm trading momentum, which I think is very important, right? And so first, let's jump into the legal notices here, and I'm just going to read this. It's an important disclaimer and reminder for all traders and investors. This webinar is for educational purposes only and not a recommendation to buy or sell any particular financial instrument. Equities, futures, options, and currency trading have large potential rewards, but also have large potential risk. You must be aware of the risks and be willing to accept them in order to invest in the futures and options markets. Absolutely do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. This website and anything on my trading stream or in my trading room is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy or sell securities, equities, futures, or options. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to those discussed on this channel. The past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. I want to repeat that. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Absolutely consult your registered financial advisor and your risk trading plan before ever investing or trading any financial instrument. Okay? So the objective is to help people make money, right? Either through the room, through one-on-one coaching, but it's certainly also to help them understand, look, in this business, the odds are stacked against you. You need an edge, and you have to understand where that edge is coming from, right? So the first thing I want to point out before I even kind of go into my charts, right, is just a very basic look at CL, right? And when I start the day, I want to come in. Let me see if I can grab this up. There we go. I want to come in, and I want to go, okay, let's go to a large time frame. Let's first go to a daily. So the first thing I'll notice on the daily is that CL, right, is doing what I call a crazy Ivan, right? And so friends, what a crazy Ivan is that the market, CL, loves to re-auction itself all the way down, all the way back up. And you can see examples of this on the daily almost anywhere you look. We get an up move, it re-auctions the down move. Let me see if I can't trace this. Okay, so you'll see we get a big down move, we get a big up move. We get a big down move, we get a big up move on a larger time frame. On a smaller time frame, we get an up move, we get a down move, right? We get a down move, we get an up move. This happens all the time. It doesn't matter what time frame I go to on this. This is daily, right? But I can switch this to a 60-minute, right? And what we would see, let's erase this. What we would see on the 60-minute is the exact same thing. Let's crunch this up a little bit. And this is just recent, right? But we can pull the chart up anywhere. We see a large down move, we see a large up move, we see a large up move, we see a large down move, right? It just kind of likes to seesaw and re-auction itself most of the time, right? So in oil, that becomes very, very attractive because people think I can always contra trade it, right? But if you look at the larger picture, I'm going to go to a 240-minute bar, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible, right? And then I'm going to try and draw it down to the day time frame, okay? So if you look at the 240-minute, which I believe we're on, first of all, you'll see very clearly we have an uptrend going, right? If we crunch this down a little bit, you'll see that that's not always the case. Sometimes it's in a distinct downtrend. Sometimes it's in a balancing situation, right? And then sometimes it's in a distinct uptrend, right? It's key that you have the ability to look at the market and determine, are we in balance? Are we trending? And if we're trending, in what direction? And where are key major support and resistance levels? And then how do I tell intraday whether it's trending up or down? If you cannot figure out these things, right, trading becomes really, really hard. So I'm not going to go back and do a comprehensive trade analysis of CL because I don't think anyone has the time to look at it. But the first thing you'll notice is we broke a major trend line back on March 28th, right? And then, without thinking too much about it, you can kind of see, right, all the way through April, we haven't been able to break this downtrend line. So the first thing that I'm thinking when I'm trading, right, is that if I short, I want to scalp on the short side, and I want to be push my longs further. It's the first thought process that comes into my head because we're just going up, right? That's just all there is to it. There is a channel, and the deception is that a lot of people will see the top of that channel and they'll think, oh, I can trade from bottom to top, right? This is very, very key to remember when you're trading, whether it's ES, CL, gold. If you pull up the if you pulled up the startup success rate for businesses after 1 year from the Small Business Administration, right, you would see that the success rate of businesses is about 38%, right? If people knew that going into it, right, you had to be a little delusional to go into opening your own business because the failure rate is so high and you end up with a mountain of debt, losses. It's really a very heartbreaking process. People would almost not do it if they were sane. They'd be like, why would I take that risk? Well, trading success, I can tell you I've been in the trading business a long time, and the failure rate on the day trading level, the failure rate is very, very high. The reasons for that are lack of knowledge of yourself, right? Lack of understanding of what process will actually make you money, right? Guessing instead of knowing, right? Not having a risk management piece in place, and then not understanding basic price action, right? So if you'll look through here, right, this was in this whole area, right, once we broke this downtrend, see this bar right here that I'm looking at? This was the largest up bar after we broke this downtrend. So what I know, this tells me there's a lot of volume in that bar, and it also tells me that they were unable to even get halfway past this bar. So early in this uptrend, right, I could tell the trend line was broken, and I knew that there was a lot of strength because we couldn't even come back to backside test the breakout, right? And remember, CL likes to make the crazy Ivan move. So since it's not making the crazy Ivan move, we know that there's a lot of strength here, right? Additionally, you'll notice that we start, right, very casually. Remember, this is a big time frame, right? First thing we're looking at is that CL is having a hard time getting below the lows, right? Here's a swing low, we can't get below it. Another swing low, can't get below it. Swing low, can't close below it. They gave it a decent shot, right? And so by the time we get to today, look at that. There's not even a reversal bar, right? And a lot of times, I'll tell my coaching clients, look, at least give yourself a chance to, on a larger time frame, right? So if you're trading 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, if you're trading daily, weekly, right, just kind of break it down. Daily, weekly. If you're trading the 240, use the daily. If you're trading the hourly, use the 240. If you're trading the 30-minute or 60-minute, use the 240. If you're using a 15-minute, use the 30-minute or the hourly. We're combining time frames here so that we understand what we look at. But what we see here is that at no point do we get, after this bar here, right, and this looks like a big nasty red bar, right, but what does it fail to do? It can't get below the last big green bar, right? So that tells you that the buyers were still stronger than the sellers. I had to get below, and I would still say this. As of right now, if you can't get below 51.69, right, and realize we're trading right now at 53.14. There's nothing bearish if we can't get below 51.69. Now, like with all price action, right, that can adjust as we go higher, right? So there may be another red bar that forms, and then if we can get below that, then we kind of start to tip the waterfall in our favor, right? So the first thing that I'm looking at this morning is I'm going, hey, market's kind of in an uptrend, right? So now let's bust it down even further, and let's take it to the heart of the matter since I've already spent 10 minutes. And if someone wants more information or more detail on this, you're welcome to contact me at tradeandperform@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter or on YouTube. but on how to read price action. Price action, you can have indicators. I use some indicators, but price action will tell you everything you need to know about a chart. So let's get to today, right? When we came in this morning, we have a couple of very important areas. First of all, we have prior day's high, we have prior day's low, right? So let's color those. So what's the first thing that you need to know for a market to be really bearish, right? There's some simple rules. The first rule is we have to be able to get below the prior day's low. Rule number one. So we're not bearish unless I can get below, let me see if I can see that a little bit clearer, 51.50, which lined up again with that 240 bar that we just saw earlier, right? This is off the 60 minutes. The next thing I know, when we came in to Asia last night, this was my Asian low right here. We're gonna dot it like that, style like this, okay? And here is roughly my London high. So I have Asia high. Obviously London low never got penetrated. So as we spread that out, right? So we're getting closer and closer into detail, right? And so when we get here, we know that this is Asia low. We know that this is 2 a.m., which is roughly when the London markets open. And we know that this, therefore, let's move that bar one to the left. We know that this is London low. We'll color that blue, try to keep up because we'll just kind of go up. And then we get to the U.S. Open right here, right, 8 a.m. And you'll see that London high was just below prior session's high. Again, we're going to color that light blue. Okay, so we know two things. First, we got to get above London high and yesterday's high to be bullish, right? But then in order to be bearish, we also got to be able to get below London low and Asia low, right? And then there's prior day's low. So I have a priority. I have a ranking that I have written down on my file, a questionnaire, right? Are we holding below prior day's high, which was the 52.96, right? Are we holding below London high? Yes. Okay, so I've got two pieces that say we may be slowing down. Are we in an uptrend or a downtrend from overnight? And in general, on a larger time frame, are we in an uptrend or a downtrend? Well, we already know, friends, that we've been trending up on the daily, the 240, right? The hourly, right? And then we also know that coming out of London, right? Here's my London low. Now, this is pretty important to me because now I have some key information. I have an uptrend and I know I've got to break that trend line, right? And I know that's the beginning process of getting bearish, right? So I have a filter for my mind to kind of think through the process. And what you'll find is the most aggressive traders, and you'll find a lot of these guys on StockTwits and Twitter and in the financial world, they'll be top callers, okay? But if you'll go and look at great traders, the turtle traders, which Michael Covell covers in detail, they'll always tell you that you don't have to capture the top, you don't have to capture the low. Everyone loves to do it, but you don't have to do it, right? And if you're trying to survive long term trading a product that can trend very hard, you're best to wait to see some form of weakness, right? So we automatically get a method, right? I can list the questions out. Have we trended up out of London and closed at the high? When we tend to trend out of London and close at the high before the U.S. Open, we tend to close at the furthest extreme when we're in a trending market. And that's exactly what we did today. We started at the low, we closed at the high in London, and then we closed at the high in the U.S. session. First thing that you should know, right? The next thing is we were unable to get below the trend line. Now, we can go back. Again, we're not even into small entry. The entry process comes all the way down at the 5-minute level. I'm not going to, I covered that in the coaching session. I don't think I'm going to cover that tonight because it's going to cause us to drag on too far. But if you look at the prior day coming into the U.S. session, right, notice that we were actually trending down out of London. This was the London high. This was the London low. So it gives us a little bit different picture, right? I could draw a trend line here, the most extreme of which would be here, right? And I could say, at least if I want to be long, I know this is my uptrend off of a daily and a 240, big time frames. Remember, friends, when you're looking at time frames, what's the most important? the higher the time frame you're drawing the trend line off of, the more important it is, right? And so you might get kind of bearish here because you'll say, hey, look, this is a really big buying effort here that took place in Asia, and they re-auctioned the whole thing down. But what was the last piece that you need, right? Remember, it's the close. It's not just the re-auction, right? Because we do crazy Ivans. It's the close below that would have been the tip-off. You notice they tried, unable to do so, and then they broke the downtrend, right? This is in U.S. session. We broke the downtrend, and once we broke that downtrend, we were unable to make any. Look at the price action. None of the bars are able to. None of the bars are able to retrace back even and close below even 50% of what I would call this is the breakout bar in your price action, right? Again, this is on an hourly time frame. So just stop for a second and take a breath, right? Instead of looking at the ticks in your dome and go, hey, look, we got to get below here to be bearish, right? I had a reversal bar, I broke my downtrend, I'm in a general uptrend, right? These are bullish signs here, right? You'll see this sideways consolidation here, but that sideways consolidation, these are hourly bars. Notice that we're putting in the bodies of the bars higher lows all the way through here, right? So I want to so when we're coming in, even without any of those technical indicators to get us down to what does the 5-minute and 15-minute and what do my actual entries look like that I'm not going to cover tonight because this took a lot longer than I thought I did. I'll just cover this a large price action. Let's look at what it looks like when it rolls over, right? So let's go to an hourly to a place when we had markets rolling lower. So we're going to crunch this down and look at how this looks very, very different. And that all took place over here. Now notice we start off, and when we start off, I want to go back to where it was going up. See this move here? See how the character of the market was very benign? This was back in early March, and we were trading very narrow, right? So the first thing that you'll notice, when again, if you'll take time just to look at this as if you're watching a sporting event, is the first thing. If this was a football game, you'd be like, wow, this guy just made a huge break downfield and advanced. He's going to make a touchdown, right? What does that mean? It changed the character of the game. See that move down? It changed the character of the game. There's clear sellers in control. There's not a single green bar that was able to be printed up here, right? The next thing you'll notice is when you look back up that we can't make any progress, right? This is the last down. This is just an hourly, right? We can't get above the single last bar. We can't even get above that high through that process of when we rotated down, right? And then look what that brings. All of a sudden, all your momentum is to the downside, right? So now look at each entry, right? If you are looking for a way to get long and you use your lead-in bars, all of a sudden, all your down bars, right, are producing follow-through to the downside because all the momentum, all your trend lines are all pointing this way, right? And this is what I call your angle of attack is extreme at this point, right? And I want to see the market before I start to look for longs. When I'm in this territory, right, I'm going to go, hey, I need to see price action do one of two things. I want to see the ability to get above a prior swing high. So here's our swing high. We can't get above it. Here's our swing high. We can't get above it. Here's our swing high. Now notice, when we finally get above this swing high, notice your retrace, very basic retrace, right? You go, oh, we've gotten above a swing high. And notice when we finally get into the 50-60 retrace area, you do actually get a counter, right? And what's the next thing that you want to see? You want to see this get above this downtrend line and break this swing high right now, right here. So even if we get back over here, nothing has changed yet because remember where the major amount of damage occurred, right? Is right over here. This swing high is huge, right? This swing high, it was okay, but we want to see a series. We want to start seeing building up so that it's getting above the last swing high and holding above the last swing low, right? So you'll notice when we get here, what's the next thing that happens? Well, even before we got to this retrace, you'll see that this was the last point where we tried to make a stand to push back up. And you can see that they held right here. See how they held and they started to try to get constructive. Traders here who were buying here wanted to see the market get up here, and it didn't happen, right? Even though it retraced, it set a lower high and it set a lower low within the context of this couple of days, right? We then break lower again and we set a new swing high. Notice this trend line is still in effect, and we're just going to go forward. I usually do this in much slower motion to learn it. We're just going to fly through because it's taking it longer than I want, right? Notice here's my swing low, here's my swing high, and all of a sudden we break that swing high. See that right there? And we get above this trend line. Now notice what happens here. Remember, this is the new trend line. Look when we backside test. See this hourly bar? We can't, they attempt to close below that halfway point roughly, and they can't. They test it 2 times. And this is where the tone and nature of this market changed. Now you may not know it at that point, right? All you know is that we've gotten above that downtrend line that's been holding, but it should at least give you pause, because if you notice, look, I'm going to slow down again. Look at how big the counter rotations are down. Look how big the counter rotations are back down. All the way through here, and all of a sudden we get this big up bar and little tiny rotations, right? This is so easy to see that a child should be able to see. Yeah, these bars are smaller than all the other bars. It's like, I always like to go back to Sesame Street. Which one of these things is not like the others, right? Then look, we get above this swing, and remember, this was my last swing high over here, right? Right over here to the left. And notice, that swing high doesn't give any rejection. Clue number 2, right? Next, look at the retrace, right? I would normally expect, because CL loves to do crazy Ivans, right? I'm looking, I'm going, where is my retrace? And look, it's not coming, right? You want to know why? This downtrend's been broken. All of a sudden, notice how little the down bars get, right? And how big the up bars get. These big up bars, if we pulled up a volume chart, would also contain a lot of volume in them, right? The temperature, right? So now pull this back in all the way through here, right? The temperature has changed, right? All these bars have big down red bars and little tiny green bars for the most part, right? There's no question that there's two-sided trading in here. I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is that the easier side is the side with momentum, right? So finally, we've broken up, and you see how large the green bars are and how little the rotation back is all the way through here. Now, you may think that any one of these areas is a top, right? But for the smart trader, the trader who wants to grow his account, the easy way to be short, right, is to get the market to start making lower lows and unable to recover any more than 50% of the break from the last swing high, and an inability to break swing highs, and for the size of the bars to get bigger going down, and for the size of the contra bars to get smaller, or vice versa if we're bullish, right? So that brings us all back to today. And where that brings us back to is that even though the bars were all small today, I'm going to blow this back up, right? Note, this was my last swing low over here back on the 6th. This is my last big bar up. And even though we re-auctioned the whole bar, I didn't get below, I didn't close below it. And that was a death knell to the bears. When we couldn't get below this bar and hold below, everyone thought they had this double top right here that we were going to get back below and trap, but it never actually trapped. And if you go through and you write this narrative out as slowly as I've gone through and written this narrative out with CL, you would see that not only can we not get any down rotations, but that the negative red bars have zero follow through. And so that finally, by the time you come into today and you look at this 15-minute trend, this 15-minute open, and you see that London, we opened higher and trended up. If you can't wait for at least this trend line to get broken and then get a retrace, and you're so eager and aggressive to get the shorts, there's no question that shorting the London high, there's trades off of VWAP, there's all kinds of trades that you can find within here. But all the easy trades, right, were to the long side today, not to the short side. All the easy trades and all the big rips. All the big money lost today were on traders trying to force this short. And then I want to go to one last picture. I'm not even going to go into my technical indicators that really kind of help me get location or what each of these bars and the way that they're structured, tell me. I'll do that maybe in a follow-up video tomorrow. But what this tells me is here when I go to a really big time frame, right? Let's erase everything here. Okay, so we've erased everything, and we're going to go back to 240. Okay, this was the scene of the crime right here. This is the day we had oil inventory, and that was the place where we broke down. And you'll see that they attempted to short off of that right here, right? First time back, that actually kind of makes sense, right? They tried to push down, and immediately I can see what needed to happen. I needed to get below my last swing low. Now, had that happened, right, I might have been pretty interesting. But now what's happened is I don't have a single red bar for hours and hours and hours and hours. This is 240, right? Not a single red bar. And if you were short, so now ask the last question. If you were short, where are you going to place your stop? I'm going to tell you where I'm going to place my stop, because this gets me back trapped into balance. Anything above here means that we'll probably have a good shot at coming back over here. Now, it doesn't mean that we will, right? But it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about whether we will or won't. All I have to worry about is whether someone else thinks that there's a possibility that we are going to run to the other end of the range, and where are they placing their stops. And so I see this rejection here, and if I'm a bear, I'm going, hey, I don't want my trade to pop anywhere above this point right here, that 92.93, right? And what you're going to see here, right, is that when we switch, again, I'm not going to use my indicators or go through any detailed pattern here, but you'll see we got to that 52.93, right, and people tried to short here. They tried to short here. And where do you think all these people that are shorting up into this double top, right, because that's what they're trying to achieve, where do you think their stops are? And what do you think they need to happen? Well, what they need to happen, anyone shorting in here needed this trend line, or to get more accurate, even out of London, this trend line to break. And they just could not get it to go. And that is why when you're seeing someone who's on StockTwits or Twitter or anywhere go, oil short, oil short, oil short, oil short, ask yourself, first of all, there's no analyst in the world that knows what the hell oil is going to do. If they did, oil would have never dropped from $120 to $30 a barrel a year or two ago. Just never would have happened, because all the analysts would have known. So no one knows, right? And as a good trader, you don't know. You're trading price action, you're trading your trade plan, you're trading structure, right? And you're managing your capital, right? So even within this area, right, if you look and you said, hey, I want to be short, and I'm looking for a short here, this thing got vertical. If you had simply waited, I wanted to show you this, and normally I just go through this with my clients. Look, here was the swing low. When we came back, they attempted up. We've now broken the swing low, right? And notice once that occurs, now we get a chance to move to the downside, right? But today, there was no break of a swing low. So I put this out there because it really breaks my heart to see people just get crushed in CL when it goes into trending mode. It trades two sides great when it's in a two-sided mode, but when it's not in a two-sided mode, right? When it's not in a two-sided mode, right? Be very, very cautious on the trend. And my suggestion is try to push the side of the trade that will get you in alignment with the larger trends. So in my next video, I'm going to cover a little bit about how I use multiple time framing and one indicator in particular, along with some simple moving averages to kind of help refine my entry, exit, and determine where the momentum is, right? But that'll be for the next time. So anyways, my name is Simon. I'd love feedback. You're welcome to email me. Please leave comments on YouTube or on the Twitter page or on StockTwits. And if you're struggling as a trader, this is all I can say. Slow down, right? If you can't trade profitably on paper, you cannot trade profitably with real money. Now, just because you can trade profitably with paper does not mean you can trade profitably with real money, right? But there are, it doesn't work both ways. Just because you can trade well with paper doesn't mean you can trade well with real money. But if you can't trade well with paper, you can't trade well with real money. And this is something that I share with my students on a daily basis. And it's a little target, and we use it in ES. And I want to show you all this. And it's just a little, it's a math formula, right? And basically, it's used in ES, but if you get the equivalent of 2 ES points a day, right? How long it would take if you started with a $5,000 account to get to $1 million account. If you traded with discipline, if you traded your high odds setups each time, right? Now, of course, this model is perfect, right? It assumes no losses, but it does give us the number of points we need to advance from 1 contract to 2 contracts and 2 contracts to 3 contracts. But what this does more than anything else for me and for my students, it reminds me I'm trading with a purpose and a long-term goal, even though I'm a day trader. And I would really like some people to think about that process, right? What are your long-term goals? What setups get you to your long-term goals so that you can make the money that you're trying to make in your trading? And so again, a lot of people offer quick solutions. I can tell you it's hard work, but if you'll get through that hard work and you'll learn your process, you can make an enormous amount of money. If you'd like to visit our trading room for a couple of days, email me. I'll be happy to extend a 5-day trial into the room so you can see how we do it. Mostly we trade ES. I trade CL and I coach CL, but I focus primarily on ES in the trading room. So anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Have a great night. I will talk to you all in the next couple of days. I'll do a second leg on how I determine my specific entries once I determine whether I want to be long or short in a momentum stock or momentum futures contract. So have a great night, guys. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.